AmeriCorps VISTA 50th Anniversary Campaign, How to Get Involved. I'm your host, Liz Matthews, an outreach specialist with AmeriCorps VISTA at the Corporation for National and Community Service. Joining me today are my colleagues, Andy King, a training specialist here at VISTA headquarters, along with Andy Clark from Education Northwest. You'll see them and hear from them in the chat and the Q&A to assist you during today's session and to help get your questions answered. I'm also very excited to have AmeriCorps VISTA's new Deputy Director, Eileen Conaboy, with us on the call today. Eileen just joined us about a month ago. She was previously the Director of the Office of Third Goal and Returned Volunteer Services at the Peace Corps. Eileen also served as a VISTA in the early 90s in North Dakota, so she is very familiar with our work. We're thrilled to have her join our team. But before I turn it over to Eileen, let me quickly review our agenda. I just want to start by saying, please know this is the first of our conversations with you all. We want to make sure that this celebration is meaningful, and we want it to reflect the needs and the personality of your community. So we are here to support you in that effort. So today we'll review the overall goals that we intend to accomplish through recognizing VISTA's 50th anniversary. We are all proud of our legacy and want to leverage this opportunity to shine a spotlight on AmeriCorps VISTA. Then we'll review the core components of the anniversary campaign, including the National Solutions Summit and the Community Solutions Summit. And we'll briefly touch on the Solutions Incubator and finally the showcase, which will enable us to show off the great work that is accomplished throughout the year. We want to make sure you understand the various ways that you can get involved, what support is available to you, and what's coming down the road in the next few weeks and months. And lastly, but certainly not least, we want to hear your ideas for what you think will work well in your community. Indy, do we have the results of the poll?
Yeah, it should have popped up. Oh, here we go. There we go.
Great. Okay, so it looks like most folks are currently serving. Yay, we love you. Thank you for what you're doing. And we've got some leaders, sponsors, CNCS staff, and some people who might not be sure where they fall in, but you're more than welcome on this call, so thank you for being here. Eileen, with that, I will go ahead and turn it over to you.
Great, thank you, Liz, and hello to all of you on the call and on the WebEx today. As Liz said, I myself served as a VISTA volunteer back in '92 in North Dakota as a domestic violence and sexual assault program coordinator. And having been in your shoes, for those of you who are VISTA volunteers out there, I know firsthand that it's a transformative experience. It's amazing, but it's not easy. So I just want to reiterate the thanks for your service that Liz just shared and tell you how excited I am to be working here in this program and working with you all, especially on such an exciting eve of this 50th anniversary, which is really a landmark occasion, and I'm so glad to be here and looking forward to working with you all on this. So just want to put this anniversary into context. As you all know, VISTA was founded in 1965, to fight poverty in America as part of President Johnson's War on Poverty. And since that time, more than 190,000 of us have served as VISTA volunteers. So that is a mighty force that we're really hoping to leverage and harness in this coming year for 2015. From the very beginning, VISTA was designed as an anti-poverty capacity building program. And the other programs that trace their founding to the Economic Opportunity Act, along with VISTA, include programs such as Head Start and Job Corps, legal services, community action programs, foster grandparents, and the list goes on. So VISTA volunteers over the years have done everything from developing Head Start programs, Job Corps sites, organizing credit unions, agricultural cooperatives, helping families get access to decent housing. It really runs the gamut, as you all well know, being out there on the ground doing this great work. So today's VISTAs are still implementing solutions. They're doing a lot of place-based work, working in some of the country's most vulnerable areas, and really connecting the resource dots. I think that's what all of us have in common is as we're leveraging resources and really helping move solutions forward, we are those dot connectors. Folks are out there bringing healthy food to urban food deserts, bridging the digital divides, helping low-income communities, get online access. So we want to hear from you. We want to be really familiar with the stories and the great work that you're doing. And again, this is the start of a new conversation. Hopefully, we're already in touch with you all and familiar with much of what you're doing. But this really gives us a new opportunity to put that spotlight on the great impact that VISTAs are doing. So that impact is something that we really want to spotlight with this 50th anniversary opportunity. Celebrating and innovating is our theme here. And what we're trying to do is honor past, present members, the projects, the communities, the folks you're working alongside doing this really impactful work and making sure that people know about it. We certainly want to also be recruiting future members as well to carry that service torch forward. Bringing that greater visibility to AmeriCorps VISTA members and projects that this anniversary affords us, and really empowering the communities to create their own innovative solutions and being that driving force that can help move things forward to address that poverty, those poverty problems in their neighborhoods. So again, thank you so much for the work you're doing in these areas. We want to give you a sneak preview of a video that we're putting together that's still in rough cut form. There's going to be some changes, but we wanted you all to be the first to see it. So I'm going to turn it over to you, Andy, to get that rolling. But again, thank you so much for your service, for your interest in participating today, and we definitely look forward to staying in touch and moving things forward together.
All right, everyone, this is Andy. I'm going to be sharing my web browser now, so your screen is going to look a little different for a second. There we go. So I'm going to be playing a video via my web browser, and the audio is just going to be coming in over my phone microphone. So I apologize if it sounds a little distorted at all, but this is all just a test and a sneak peek, and you will be able to see the final loud and clear pretty soon. All right, take it away, Liz.
Sorry, I was on mute. Thank you, Andy. And obviously they're, a little challenging there technically, but you all get the idea and get a sneak peek. And yes, please feel free to let us know what you think through the emoticons or your comments in the chat. So thank you so much. All right, so before we give you the framework of what we've come up with, please know that you can tailor your recognition of VISTA's anniversary for whatever works in your community. As you know, VISTA is all about building community from within, so this is really a great opportunity to apply our own approach in conducting our anniversary celebration. So we are not here to dictate what you all should do, but rather we're here to share what we have planned so far and to hear about your ideas. So along with the celebration, this really is an opportunity to actually do something. It's what we do. We bring people together to address community challenges and to bring out solutions. So we've kept that in mind as we've come up with this model. So the anniversary will be kicked off with a National Solutions Summit to take place on February 25th of 2015 at the National Museum of the American Indian here in Washington, D.C. And the design behind this format is we want to honor VISTA's history of addressing poverty while setting a vision for future poverty solutions. We've been calling it TEDx-ish. So we hope to have numerous innovative, inspiring, impactful talks. It will be an in-person event and live streamed for a national audience, and the talks will also be recorded and made available for you to use at your event locally if you choose to do so. So next we have community events and community solutions summits. So the idea here is that we are hoping there will be events around the country throughout the year. This can be done through the community solutions model that we've developed or through whatever design that works for you at the local level. Community members are encouraged to come together to take a moment to celebrate VISTA's local impact, both past, present, and future. And the Community Solutions Summit includes a component where participants identify issues that are of particular importance to that community, and the idea is that a plan is crafted to address them through an incubator process. The second webinar we have planned for later this month, and we'll give you more information about that in a few slides, will focus on the nuts and bolts of organizing these community solutions summits and events. We have decided to go ahead and spotlight 5 communities, so we are calling those Community Solutions Spotlights, and these events will follow a similar format to the Community Solutions Summits, and we've selected 5 geographically diverse locations that have a rich history with VISTA, and they have current projects that we really are proud of and would like to highlight on behalf of AmeriCorps VISTA and CNCS. So those locations have already been identified, and the state offices are already working on these events. So if you happen to live near one of these areas, by all means, contact your state office. They would love your help with this. So Philadelphia will kick things off in April. And then we go to Pineville, Kentucky to recognize our heritage there in Appalachia. Then we will go over to Salt Lake City, Utah in August of 2015. And then in the fall, in October, we'll go to Minneapolis, St. Paul, the Twin Cities. And then we will round out the year in Austin, Texas. And it's very exciting because we actually have been able to confirm that event will take place on December the 3rd, and it will be at the LBJ Presidential Library. So we'll have a great grand finale there at the end of the year. So if you can get to Austin, you're welcome to come. Okay, so then we wanted to just touch on briefly the Solutions Incubator phase. This is after the summits have taken place. The idea is that what has come out of the Community Solutions Summits will go into action plans. So members from each local Community Solutions Summit will form work groups, and if you go with this model, the ideal time frame for your Community Solutions Summit would be to take place between the February to May of 2015 time frame, because this will give work groups approximately a 6-month period to incubate, which means to network both online and in person to develop those plans. So the idea here is that the work group focuses on one issue identified during the Community Solutions Summit. So you may have realized that in your town, the community is just tired of all the vacant lots that are accompanied by crime, and you all want to do something about it for once and for all. Or maybe you decide that every child born into a low-income family will receive regular nurse visits until the age of 2. Or perhaps your community is already working on drastically reducing the high school dropout rate, and your work group can help the community reach that goal. So the idea, and a lot of work, and you all know a lot of work has already been done in communities through United Way and other organizations assessing the issues of poverty in those communities. So you can take that work that's already been done and really zero in on one particular issue in order to really make a difference and move the needle on that particular issue in that community. So again, more details on this part will follow the conversation in our next webinar as well. So then we're going to round out the year with the Solutions Showcase. So this won't launch until around this time next year. But the idea here is that we'll have an online showcase to highlight all of the wonderful solutions that have come up throughout the year, and they might even become future VISTA projects. And as I stated earlier, this showcase will also be able to be highlighted during the finale event that will take place at the LBJ Presidential Library in Austin. So that's the broad brushstroke of what we have presented to date, and there are numerous ways to get involved. You might not even want to do anything having to do with an event, but there are plenty of ways to get involved even from your desktop. So we ask that you spread the word to your network. I know many of you are on social media. Some of you actually do social media as part of your VAD. So we will be having messages that you can easily forward in order to spread the word to your network. You can already sign up for 50th updates. Don't worry, if you're a member, you'll be getting this information anyways. You don't have to sign up for anything, but you can certainly encourage people in your community to sign up for updates through the nationalservice.gov website right now. And as I said, joining us on social media, there will be suggested Twitter posts and Facebook posts. There will be ways to connect with others on the VISTA campus, sharing stories, and just lots of ways to engage members and alumni through these channels. And then actually participating in the 50th events, you can attend the National Solutions Summit in person or through the live stream. You can organize or participate in a Community Solutions Summit or a local event. And you can absolutely do your own thing and tell us about it, because we definitely want to know all of the creative ideas that are bubbling up across the country. So let's just take a look as to what's ahead. As I mentioned, we are going to have a webinar on October the 30th at 2 p.m. Eastern Time, and that will be the nuts and bolts of planning a Community Solutions Summit and other events. We will be sending out a message through GovDelivery with that video, the final version of that video that you've seen, to our members, our leaders, our supervisors, VISTA supervisors, alumni, friends. That message will go far and wide, and we hope that it will get people excited and anticipate what's to come with this anniversary milestone. And then finally, we are working on an online presence, so there will be a microsite that is all about VISTA 50. So that will give folks a chance to glance through our history, share stories, and there will also be a toolkit available to organize events and summits, get social media messaging, and all kinds of other things. So that should be helpful to you, hopefully, and it will be coming down the road in a few weeks. So the support that you have available now, you can reach out to your state office. You can email us at vista50@cns.gov. We even have a toll-free number, 844-VISTA50. I called it yesterday. Somebody answers, I promise. So those are some ways that we have already for you to communicate with us, and there will be other support coming down the road. But that's some infrastructure that we have open and available to you already. So let's go ahead and give you all an opportunity to ask questions. You can do this either through the Q&A box, or you can raise your hand, and we can then unmute your line and you can ask your question over the phone. If you click on the participant list, you can see the little emoticons underneath people's names, and there's a little hand there that will enable you to raise your hand virtually. So Andy, I will turn it over to you to see if there are any questions that have come up in the Q&A or the chat.
Great. Thank you, Liz. So far, no questions yet, but I just want to point out, if you're not familiar with WebEx, in the upper right corner, just above the participants panel, you'll see a tab for Q&A. If you click that, it'll open up a Q&A window, or a little pane that'll be in the bottom right section of your screen, and you can post your question there. It'll be easier for us to see and find and answer those questions. Likewise, if you're dialed in on the phone, we can open your phone line, but in order for us to do that, you need to raise your hand, as Liz pointed out. So just below the participants list, in that upper right panel, you'll see the little hand. Click that, and then we'll call on you and open your phone line. So looks like we've got our first questions coming in. So Adriana asks, will there be any grant funds available, either statewide or nationally, to support VISTA 50th activities?
It is a good question, and it's a question that should be, we certainly expect you to ask. At this point, there are not any funds that we have to distribute. There is a fundraising campaign that will be part of the 50th microsite, and we'll also be able to get to through nationalservice.gov, called 50 for the Future, where we're encouraging people to donate to VISTA. We don't have the functionality to be able to designate that money to particular locations, but it just helps to you know, support all of the efforts behind VISTA members, and that is one way. But at this time, I'm afraid the answer is no. So I think we'll move on to the next question. But thank you for your question, Adriana.
Great. Next, we have Ella, who's on the phone line, who's raised her hand. So Andy will unmute your phone so you can ask verbally.
Hello?
Hi, Ella.
Can you guys hear me? Okay. I just wanted to know, where can we go to get some more information on this National Solutions Summit? For example, if we need to, where and how to register, sign up, so on and so forth, what kind of format it's going to be in, is it just an all-day event, or is it morning, you know, et cetera?
Sure, this is Liz. I can answer your question. So it's going to be a half-day event in the afternoon. The February 25th is a Wednesday, I believe, most likely from about 1 to 5:30. There is limited seating. There's 322 seats that we will be filling, so there may be an opportunity to actually attend the event in person, but there's a reception afterwards starting at 5:30. So if you are within driving distance of DC and you would like to be a part of that, you can definitely come to the reception that will begin, and it'll be from about 5:30 to 7:30.
So you all are going to handpick that 325?
We haven't gotten there yet, to be quite honest. And there are a lot of questions, and we knew by having this webinar you all are smart and ask good questions, and we know that we might not have the answers to all of them yet, but we wanted to at least start the conversation and let you know where things were at this point, and give you some tools to start planning if you wanted to do something where you are living. Does that answer most of your questions? And then, of course, they will be live streamed, so you can even sit at your desktop and watch parts of the presentations, and then they will be recorded as well. So people will be encouraged to use the various talks in whatever way that they feel are appropriate for what they're doing in their local communities.
Sure, absolutely. I just want to ask one more question with that 325, just a timeline of when you guys will know how you'll be deciding that, or how, I mean, you'll be reaching out, or, because I am very close to DC, and it's something that I would love to be a part of.
Well, and we are also, and I see Crystal Biles is on the phone, is on the call as well, and she's the state director there in Maryland. We are also planning to do something for local members and alumni in that morning. So if you happen to be near DC, there will be opportunities, and the information about that will be forthcoming. Official invitations for the events probably won't be sent until in the new year.
Okay, all right, wonderful. Thank you, guys.
Yes.
Great. Liz, we've got a few folks have asked similar questions about the 5 spotlight events. So, you know, like, how can I get more information about them? Can I be involved? And all of that. So if you want to just kind of recap, you know, first maybe just remind folks where they're going to be, and then let them know how they can get involved either with planning or just participating.
Sure. So I know, because we've been working with the state offices in the locations of the 5 spotlights, that they would love to have your help, and they've already started planning. So again, that's Philadelphia, pretty rural Kentucky. It's in Pineville, Kentucky, which is south of Lexington. And then Salt Lake City, and the Twin Cities, Minneapolis, St. Paul, Minnesota, and then Austin, Texas. So if you want to be involved in any of those spotlights, just contact, for example, the Texas State Office, and you can work with them directly and let them know if you have a particular interest, and I'm sure they would be more than willing and wanting you to help out.
Great. Thank you, Liz. Crystal asks, what are the hours for the toll-free number?
Sure. I believe it's, I mean, you might not get a live person at 2 a.m., but you can leave a voicemail. So when I called yesterday, I did get a live person, but it was during business hours. We can double check on what those hours are to get somebody in person. Otherwise, it would go to voicemail, and they'll get back to you within, I think, 24 to 48 hours.
Great. And then a related question, but you've already covered this, that yes, this webinar is being recorded and it will be available on the campus, and the future webinars as well will be there. So it takes about a week for us to get those posted, but you'll find them on the same page where all the other webinars are listed, and you can access the recordings there. All right. Yvonne asks a question. So you've already said where the Community Solutions Summits are. So the question is, should the solutions be regional or just specific to those particular cities?
That's really up to the location where the events are taking place. As a collective group, the people in attendance may decide that there is a regional issue that they want to take on, or it might be very specific to one community or even one neighborhood. But that is by all means up to the folks that are in that room and gathered.
Great. So Wendy asks, how can I easily connect with other VISTAs and VISTA alumni in my city?
Great question. You can already do that through the VISTA campus. Andy, I don't know if you want to give any more detail on that vehicle.
Sure. So on the VISTA campus, there are a couple of ways that you can look for Others, particularly if you want to find folks in your region, then go to the VISTA map, and you'll find that in the Connect and Learn area of the campus. So go to the map and just keep drilling down. So use that magnifying glass to get closer and closer into your city, and you'll see pins representing the various VISTA members and alumni who have an account on the campus and who have made their pin visible. Not everybody chooses to make themselves visible, but that's probably one of the easiest ways you can do it. Another way, of course, we have discussion forums on the campus, which many people read. So you can, if you wanted to organize something very specific for your city, you could post it there and then get folks interested to reply to you, and you could, set up some kind of an offline discussion as well. But those are two great ways of doing it. Likewise, if there's something that you want to organize or plan for VISTAs in your region, you could also consider working with your state office, and they could spread the word to those who are in your region. And then I guess the last option I would say for VISTA alumni, AmeriCorps alums is a great resource, and there are chapters in many communities around the country. Of course, they have both AmeriCorps state and national members as well as VISTA members in their alumni membership. But if there is a local AmeriCorps alums chapter in your community, they would be a great partner in helping you connect with VISTA alumni who are in your region. Liz, anything you would add to that?
No, I think that was great. There's also Facebook, our Facebook page, so through social media as well, facebook.com/AmeriCorps VISTA. Okay,
great. Carlos asks the question, when will we be able to access the 50th anniversary webpage?
Sure. Well, you can access it as soon as it's ready. It's not quite ready yet. So we're still building it out, but we really hope that it will be live before the holiday season hits. So you will all receive an email once it is live, so that you can access all the resources and look at all the photos and see, participate in any interactive ways on the site. So we just ask for your patience and sit tight, and it's being built as we speak.
Great. Well, just looking in the chat, there are lots and lots of interest in both the National Solutions Summits and then the spotlight events that have been highlighted. And I'm guessing as more and more regional or local Solutions Summits get planned, that those will be available. And so it looks like there's a lot of interest. Could you just say a few more words about how people can participate if, say, there's not an event in their city, or they really want to see what's happening at the National Summit, but they're not in DC?
Sure. So we are, like I said, the events will be live streamed, so if you have a connection, you'll be able to view them that way, and the talks will be recorded. We certainly want to make things as accessible to people, so if there's not something happening in your community, you are, of course, encouraged to organize one if you have the time and the capacity to do that. And otherwise, there will be ways to interact and be involved with the 50th through social media and other interactive tools online once that website is up. I don't know if anyone, Eileen or Andy, have any other thoughts to add on that piece of it.
This is Eileen. I would just say that I think the best ideas are going to come from them, from the field. I think, these events are, I don't want to say grand scale. They're very much intended to be carried out at the local grassroots level, and yet they're the bigger lifts that we're working on and hoping to engage you all on. But as you think about your community, whether it's your city or your rural town or in between, you know, we'd be very interested in hearing from you all what you think would resonate and engage and galvanize folks where you are, and getting those ideas and having us then be the dot connectors and trying to make that forum and those great ideas transparent as it, you know, ripples across the country. So I don't know if you all on the screen or on the phone want to share some ideas, but please do know that that is also going to be very much our role of sharing some of the plans, you know, small scale, medium scale, large scale that folks are doing around the country. It could be as simple as, you know, messaging on social media. We definitely want to have a digital media presence, something that really takes root. And again, we have the whole year throughout 2015 to make use of this and get involved. But I'd love to hear, you know, whether it's today or moving forward, and that microsite that Liz mentioned will be up, you know, soon, will also be a great place to do this sharing of ideas. We did a lot of, you know, coming from Peace Corps just a few weeks ago and moving over to the VISTA side of the service fence. We had our 50th anniversary just a couple years ago, and that was something that, you know, to see what the different alumni groups, what individuals were doing. Some people wrote letters to the editor. Some people, you know, set up events in libraries. Some people had potlucks in their home and invited neighbors and friends to talk about, you know, poverty perspectives or their own experience. There's so many different ways of all different, you know, investment levels that people can do, doing things, you know, speaking visual and kind of going that visual route of talking with your sponsors and your organizations to think, you know, how can you really show the great work that these organizations are doing, and using this 50th anniversary as really that accelerator, that igniter, I think is also a formula that has worked well, that will only be limited by your own creativity.
Thanks, Eileen. And I would just add to that, no matter where you are, even if you're in a very small rural community or you don't have, you know, easy access to one of the more formal in-person events that's being planned, I would say there's still a way to sort of tap into the power of community and collaboration, and that is just hosting other VISTAs or others from your organization or your community, and sit together and watch the live stream of either the National Summit or one of the other Spotlight Summits that's happening, and then engage in your own dialogue and your own sort of exploration of what the issues are that are relevant in your community. And then you can feed that up through your state office and as Liz has said, through this website and through our social media channels, you'll be able to engage in the dialogue virtually, even if you're not able to be there in person.
And just to piggyback one more thing is you can also have cake and have a celebration and recognize all the good work that's been done. So we certainly don't want to ignore just the very nice celebratory aspect to this. And if that's what's most appropriate in your community, then by all means, enjoy some birthday cake.
Mm-hmm. Great. Well, we've got a number of other questions that have been sort of written into the chat, so we're teasing those out. And so Sherry Bear Robe asks, since the event, the National Solutions Summit, is being held at the National Museum of the American Indian, will there be any Native events that go along with it? For example, dances or having Native leaders present?
Absolutely, and VISTA from the very beginning in 1965, we had members serving on reservations. So we are by all means working that into the program. And another aspect of why we really liked this space was that it encourages the telling of stories and the passing of wisdom along from the elders. So we are definitely going to incorporate those Native aspects into the program, and hopefully there will be art and music interspersed throughout. So, and as I said, we're still in the midst of planning the speakers and the entertainment and so forth, but we hope to do exactly that. So thank you for that question.
Great. And Liz, I know you've sort of touched on this, but just because I've seen a couple people, again, reference it. So if folks are interested in either assisting with or participating in a particular event, what's the best way for them to make that known? Should they wait for the site to be up and connect that way, or
no,
what
I
would you
think,
suggest?
sure, the best way is to use the VISTA 50 at cns.gov website right now. So feel free to send ideas to that email address, to ask questions, to say, hey, I really think you all should make sure to do, you know, X, Y, and Z. Give us advice, give us feedback, give us ideas. Share anything that you want through that vehicle for right now, I think is the best way for us to be in communication about this topic. And, you know, also the VISTA forums, I think those are great ways to start dialogue amongst your peers, and there are also alumni on there too. So I think between the forums and the email address right now, we can really get some good dialogue going already.
Okay, and just one more time, the email is VISTA50?
VISTA50, we can write it in the chat.
VISTA50 at cns.gov. Okay, so I just put that up in the chat. Great. All right, so let's see. Carson asks, what kind of feedback are you looking to receive from VISTA program sponsors in regards to planning the events, forums, or summits? You know, do you have any suggestions for the kind of input that would be most helpful?
Sure, I'll answer that, and then Eileen, maybe you have some thoughts on that question as well. I think from the program sponsors, we would love your stories. You may have had VISTAs for a long time, you may have had VISTAs for a short time, but we would love to hear what the impact of VISTA AmeriCorps VISTA members have been for your mission and moving your mission forward. So we definitely view you as integral to the participation in all of this recognition. We also hope that you can support your members and leaders to, of course the VAD comes first, but any extra time that your members and leaders have to get involved in planning any type of event would be much appreciated. And we're also looking this at, you know, because we're going to have this extra spotlight shined on us, we are really hoping that there is some branding recognition on program sponsor websites. So if you don't have a logo up there, we would love to see that, either under the staff, as you mentioned, your AmeriCorps VISTA members and the staff, or if there's a special section on your website dedicated to the work that VISTAs are doing, we really would love to see that as well. So Eileen, I don't know if you have anything else to add to those thoughts.
I would just add that I do think the sponsor piece is I don't know if it's the greatest one to build out, but it's certainly incredibly ripe for 50th activities that I think we haven't really gone too deep on yet. And I do think at those organizations that have hosted VISTAs and are the most familiar with the work and the impact of VISTAs over the years, I think this is such a great opportunity through your own you know, networks, through e-newsletters, through websites, as Liz mentioned, to really just, you know, sound the trumpets, and we, you know, we'd be happy to brainstorm, and we'll again be sharing the best practices of folks as they embark down this 50th path from a sponsor perspective, not to separate you out, because we certainly see you as very integral into the events, the in-person events, the, you know, our own website and promotional tools. But I do think that this is an area that trying to figure out how we can really decentralize these messages. I see it's really coming through you all, the sponsors. And again, on the online pieces, I think we'll have, you know, the greatest reach, and kind of helping us as we move forward with some of our digital campaigns as well. We'd be very interested in keeping this conversation going.
All right. Thank you, Eileen and Liz. Now we're going to go to the phones. I think we've got at least one, maybe a couple folks who've raised their hands. So Andy, I'm going to turn to you to open up maybe Mary's phone line.
Yeah, Mary Matthews, I'm going to open up your phone line. And also we see that June has her hand raised, but unfortunately you're a call-in user as far as where your phone is connected, and we don't know which one. So if you can give us your question via the Q&A panel, that would be most helpful. So Mary,
oh, this is Mary Matthews in Tallahassee. Can y'all hear me?
Yes, we can.
We sure can.
Hi, I'm with Communities and Schools of Florida, and we have a multi-site VISTA program here in the state. And I would like to give a recommendation from some luck that we've had previously with raising awareness about our program and AmeriCorps and VISTA and even Learn and Serve. Whenever your state legislature meets, that's usually a good time if you would check the calendar where you can send displays down and have those up in your capital. I know here in Florida, the legislative season comes up in March, and there is a week where any kind of groups that want to advocate for their mission or just showcase their opportunities can bring a display down during this time. I'm not sure about the rest of the states, but we do it in Tallahassee, and we will probably plan an event for this legislative week coming up in Tallahassee in 2015 to showcase our VISTA program and projects and the counties that we're working in. We're in 11 counties throughout the state. So I encourage you, that's a good way to connect and showcase your program is if to find out when your state legislature meets and get some displays up there. Works well for us.
That's wonderful. Thank you, Mary. That's really nice to hear.
It worked for us, and sometimes we had Learn and Serve students come up here that, was Learn and Serve America and would actually talk to their representatives about all the good things their program was doing. So it really, even if you could only send a few vistas up to just expose yourself to, the people who make policies. It's a good idea, and to kind of like raise your voice for VISTA in America. Thank you. That's all. You may remute me.
Thank you so much, Mary. That's fantastic.
And Liz, if I'm not unmuted, this is Eileen again, and that was an excellent idea. And that also, I think with VISTAs being so often behind the scenes as those capacity builders, it's doing really intentional things like what you just described. That's an excellent idea. Also reaching out to alumni magazines or your alma mater, whether it's high school or college, and pitching yourself as a great story, pitching your organization, pitching yourself as a VISTA member. I think this is also the time that we're going to be able to shine because of that, seminal anniversary. So thanks for that kind of off of the conversation path that we've been on. That's an excellent idea.
Great. Well, we have June's question now. Thank you for submitting it through the Q&A. And she asks, would hosting a Community Solutions Summit qualify as a good VISTA initiative project?
Good VISTA initiative project. Andy, do you have thoughts on that?
Well, I'm wondering if what she's asking is, would this qualify as, appropriate work in, to be included in the VAD for a particular VISTA member, then I would say it's not, because this work wouldn't directly, be solving poverty in that community. It is working towards that in a bigger way, but it wouldn't necessarily be a piece that we would want to see assigned to one VISTA member. But certainly, we do want to have VISTA members involved in this type of work, but, to have them be setting up the meeting hall and arranging the chairs and ordering the refreshments would probably not, be substantive for for one VISTA, but I'm not sure if that's exactly what she was asking.
Right, and I do think, like, if that VISTA is doing that on their own time, then those tasks are absolutely fine. And I also would think that if the sponsor is in support of this, and if the person, if within the VAD, part of what the person is doing, and obviously you all know you're doing many different types of things, but for example, if you're doing partner outreach and community development and social media and trying to raise the visibility of the organization, you can also tie this anniversary bow around the messages that you're sending out about your organization's mission and what you're doing. So I think if you're not quite certain, if you have something specifically in mind and you're not quite certain how it might play out, by all means get in touch with us through that vista50@cns.gov email address. But I think if you're working with your sponsor and you're still completing everything that is on your VAD, then by all means this activity is relevant to what you're doing during your year.
All right. Next up, Erin asks, or says rather, I've noticed a significant reduction in the variety of materials available at the CNCS publication website. Is that because we are to expect new and updated outreach materials or publications for the 50th?
That is a good question. We are working on potential gear, but know that, I mean, everybody knows this, funds are very tight. So we are going to be able to give every VISTA that starts serving in the PSOs starting in November the VISTA 50th pins, lapel pins, and we do have some of those available on the pub site. You can order some in limited quantities. And there will hopefully be some other materials. I will also say that as we are using this anniversary as an excuse to do a lot of things, one of which we are revamping our campaign. Our current campaign is Fight Poverty with Passion, and we have some brochures available that are still available for that. But our hope is that we will be having some new materials come out in 2015, but they are definitely not ready for prime time yet. They're still in development. So I will also say that the logos will be made available through National Service Gear .org, and you, in theory, anybody could order anything with the VISTA logo on it. In that case, you are paying for it. The cost is very minimal, but that is a way to get gear, and might be another option depending on what your needs are. But just hang in there with us.
Great. A lot of great questions coming in. Next, Adriana asks, will there be a place on the microsite or elsewhere where folks can share archival documents or photos? It would be really neat to see some hidden gems.
Adriana, thank you for that. Yes, so we, along with everything else going on, we have big plans. We've got our research and evaluation department has been going through VISTA's history, and it is our intention that we will have an online interactive timeline where you all will be able to see some of those hidden gems, and if you actually own some of those hidden gems, the hope is that you'll be able to contribute content as well. So again, that's one of those sneak peek heads up coming down the line, but give us a few months on that.
Great. And then a follow-up question to what we heard earlier about, VISTA member involvement in planning the 50th activities. Erin asks, how about assigning 50th anniversary activities for a VISTA leader? And I think there are some opportunities, and Liz and I have talked a little bit about how leaders can be involved in helping to promote the 50th anniversary and support those activities. Liz, I don't know if you want to say anything specific about leader involvement.
Yes, I mean, to your point, we definitely have been talking about it, and I think leaders are a great asset to the program, and we'd certainly love to engage them more fully in the anniversary, again, with the caveat that they're doing what they are supposed to be doing first and foremost. But I think, Andy, maybe we can talk further, and if leaders have ideas, you can certainly submit those to us, but I think that leaders would be very well positioned to help plan and convene some type of events in the communities in which they're serving.
Yeah, absolutely, and we can certainly get more specifics out about that as we get more clarity. Of course, we here at CNCS, we have to walk a fine line because we can't be assigning work to VISTAs or VISTA leaders that we should be doing here. So, we can't have VISTA members as our personal assistants or interns or doing that type of work. So we just need to make sure that it is community specific and that it's really arising out of the specific needs in the community there, and that whatever work they're doing is capacity building in some regard. Within their community, their organization, or within the program. But as Liz said, if any of you have ideas about ways that you could do that as a VISTA leader or a VISTA member, we'd love to hear those ideas. And again, the email address is vista50@cns.gov.
All right, so it looks like we only have a couple minutes left. Andy, are there any final questions that we want to address?
Yeah, there's looks like one last question that I can see. It says, will we be able to download photos of projects that we're currently working on as part of our VADs during, as part of the 50th anniversary campaign? So I guess asking, is there an archive, and, could we find historic photos related to our current projects?
It would depend on what the project is. I guess I was hoping that that question might mean we have archival photographs from my sponsor. So I'm not quite sure. The archival information that we have, once it's up, you'll be able to see it. And I will also say that the National Archives does have VISTA materials. So you all can also reach out to them as well, but we can certainly work with you offline. Again, just email us at vista50@cns.gov. We can go from there.
All right. Well, thank you, Liz and Eileen. Now we're going to do a quick wrap-up. I want to thank everybody for joining us today. And Andy, if you will take us to our evaluation.
Yeah, your evaluation will actually pop up on your screen after the session closes. There will be one with a blue background that's just WebEx, our webinar software, trying to get your feedback on the technology, but there will also be one specific to AmeriCorps that would be great if you could give us your feedback and things that we can do that would improve future webinars for VISTA. So after the session closes, please do fill that out.
Great.
All right.
And we'll just highlight the upcoming webinar one more time that I had mentioned, the nuts and bolts of planning the Community Solutions Summit or community event, Thursday, October 30th from 2 to 3 p.m. So we hope to see you there. We hope we've piqued your interest, and I just want to say thank you for your interest, for your enthusiasm. We really need to do this all together and to celebrate and take advantage of this wonderful opportunity. And Eileen, do you have any last words that you'd like to share?
I do not, other than good luck and thanks for tuning in.
Great. Thank you, everyone. We really appreciate the work that you're doing in your communities every day, as well as hopefully what's to come with the anniversary.